Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CueandReview. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@cuenreview.com. That is INFORMATION or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 20th of February 2025. From the news section. Biggest council tax rise in years for Glasgow as deal agreed. This article has been written by Stuart Patterson and it's being read by me, Corey. A budget deal has been agreed between the SNP and Greens in Glasgow that will see a council tax rise of 7.5%. The parties have decided on a budget that will see council taxpayers pay more, but it will increase staff for cleaning and provide free school meals for more pupils. The council tax rise of 7.5% is the biggest in years, and higher than last year, but 2.5% of this increase will be ring-fenced for an extra 200 cleansing staff and for extra capital funding for repairs to roads, pavements and parks. Talks have been ongoing between the parties ahead of the budget meeting at the City Chambers today. Specific commitments in the budget are £3 million for universal free school meals for primary 6 pupils and £3 million for next year's budget to extend it to P7. An additional £2.3 million to recruit neighbourhood clean teams for every ward in the city to deal with issues like fly tipping. There will be £1.5 million for extra street cleansing staff and £1.4 million to double the number of existing deep clean teams, and £20 million for the upkeep of roads, pavements and cycle lanes. There is an extra £4 million for social work services in the HSCP. £500,000 will be spent on extending opening hours at swimming pools and libraries. Rick Bell, City Treasurer and Deputy Leader of the Council, said, "This is a budget that responds to the priorities of Glaswegians, investing in frontline staff within essential services, in the fabric of our communities and in support of our communities, and in support of our families and households." John Molinex, Green Group co-leader, said, "This is a joint budget on which the Greens have put their own stamp. Whether that's by increasing the spending on social work services that our most vulnerable citizens rely on, by extending opening hours at swimming pools and libraries, or by investing more in climate action." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Stuart Patterson and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times on Thursday the 20th of February 2025. From the news section. Dobbies Glasgow to raise funds for Alzheimer's research. This article has been written by Sandhya Suresh and it's being read by me, Corey. A garden centre chain's Glasgow store has pledged to raise funds for an Alzheimer's charity. Dobbies announced a partnership with Alzheimer's Research UK as it celebrates 160 years of helping British gardeners. The partnership aims to raise awareness of the benefits of gardening for brain health and generate funds for research into a cure for dementia. The initiative will launch in March with a year-round programme to educate on the impact of dementia and encourage donations. David Robinson, Chief Executive Officer of Dobby's Garden Centres, said, "When we were looking for a new charity partner that would be a right fit for us and resonate with our customers, Alzheimer's Research UK stood out as an ideal choice. As well as fundraising to help research into a cure for dementia, our aim through this partnership is to inspire people to keep their brains healthy. Gardening can really help this through stimulating both body and mind, and staying connected with other people is also very important. In our Glasgow store, we have everything needed to help people garden, and through our restaurant and events, we also help bring people together. As we celebrate 160 years of helping British gardeners to grow, we are really proud to be embarking on this important new partnership." Hilary Evan Newton, Chief Executive Officer of Alzheimer's Research UK, said, "Alzheimer's Research UK is incredibly excited to join forces with Dobby's. Brains are like gardens. When well tended and looked after, they can flourish. We'll work together with Dobby's to inspire their community to protect their brain health through activities like gardening, while raising vital funds for a cure for dementia. If nothing changes, 1 in 2 of us will be directly affected by dementia, either by caring for someone with the condition, developing it ourselves, or both. Alzheimer's Research UK exists to change this. With Dobby's standing with us, we will speed up our progress and end the heartbreak dementia causes sooner." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Sandhya Suresh, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times, on Thursday the 20th of February 2025. From the news section. Glasgow Airport passengers stuck in insane queues amid issue. This article has been written by Ben Waddle, and it's being read by me, Corey. Glasgow Airport passengers are facing insane queues at security amid an issue this morning. Travellers heading through the city's airports have taken to social media to complain about being stuck in chaotic queues before the security checkpoints on Thursday, February 20th. Sharing their frustration, several passengers shared images of the hectic queues at the travel hub on X. One person wrote, "Insane queues for security at Glasgow Airport. Most security gates are blocked off. If you're flying, get here early." Another disgruntled traveller said, "What is going on here? Been through Glasgow Airport so many times and never seen this queue before security." Meanwhile, a third furious holidaymaker added, "Chaos still bad, never seen anything like it. If you're flying out of Glasgow today, get here at least 3 hours early." Following the issue being raised, Glasgow Airport told the Glasgow Times they have experienced a system issue with their new security technology. Due to this, the airport said they faced slightly longer than normal queues in the security hall today. The travel hub has since apologised to its travellers. A spokesperson for Glasgow Airport said, "As we move to new security technology, we have experienced a system issue which is currently being fixed. Glasgow Airport experienced a slightly longer than normal queue this morning in the security hall. We apologise for any inconvenience caused and thank passengers for their patience." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Ben Waddle, and it was read by me, Corey. The Glasgow Times, on Thursday the 20th of February 2025. New drug combo in Glasgow nearly eradicates common liver cancer. This article has been written by Sandhya Suresh, and it's being read by me, Corey. A new drug combination led by a professor from a cancer research institute in Glasgow has been found to almost completely eradicate the most common type of liver cancer. The discovery by Cancer Research UK funded scientists in Scotland offers hope to patients with hepatocellular carcinoma, a particularly hard-to-treat cancer. The study, led by Professor Tom Bird of the University of Edinburgh and the Cancer Research UK Scotland Institute in Glasgow, focused on genetic alterations that can cause liver cancer. The research, published in Nature on February 19th, used the specific areas of genetic malfunction to create genetic avatars in mice, which were then targeted with various treatments. The team found that cladribine, which belongs to a group of drugs called antimetabolites, interferes with DNA synthesis and halts the growth of cancer cells. The study found that cladribine significantly reduced the number of tumours, but was most effective when combined with another drug, lenvatinib, resulting in the near eradication of all tumours. Professor Bird, the lead author on the study, said, "This exciting discovery provides a new hope for thousands of people living every day with a liver cancer diagnosis. Finding new and effective ways to combine and use treatments already approved for other cancers may be a faster way to achieve successful outcomes for future patients." The next step is to run a clinical trial over several years to confirm the long-term results in liver cancer patients. Dr. Sam Godfrey, Science Engagement Lead at Cancer Research UK, said, "We are delighted to have funded this exciting research, which could lead to new treatments and improve outcomes for patients with liver cancer. Liver cancer is a difficult cancer problem. It's the fastest rising cause of cancer death in the UK, and it can be hard to diagnose it at an early stage when treatment can be more effective. That's why research like this is so important. It lays the foundations for improved cancer treatment, driving us towards a time when no one fears cancer." John O'Donnell, a 75-year-old from Glasgow, welcomed the new research. He was diagnosed with liver cancer 2.5 years ago and was accepted onto a clinical trial for people with advanced liver cancer. After a few months on a new immunotherapy drug combination, his tumour had reduced by 35%. Mr. O'Donnell said, "It was hard at times, but I'm absolutely delighted with the result. And I'm proud that I was able to contribute in a small way to helping find new ways to tackle liver cancer. There are lots of exciting things happening in cancer research, and I hear about it every time I am in for a checkup. I've been told that if the treatment I'm on stops working, there are other options, so I'm delighted to hear of new developments like this." That article was from the Glasgow Times. It was from the news section. It was written by Sandhya Suresh, and it was read by me, Corey.
This is from the Glasgow Times on Friday, 21st February 2025. From the news section. It is a constant battle. Meet the group fighting to keep the area clean. An exclusive by Aidan MacDonald. Volunteers for a litter-picking group in Renfrewshire insist it is a constant battle to keep the area clean. Team Up to Clean Up was founded in October 2017 as part of a collaboration between the local authority and community groups to inspire residents to improve where they live. The project, which covers the whole of Renfrewshire, has led to around 1,900 people in the area having access to litter-picking kits. Andrew Davis, who lives in Johnston, joined the group in 2021 and detailed the issues his area has with rubbish being dropped. He said, "I always notice litter when I'm out and about. It may be I am now more aware of the rubbish after joining the group, as it is difficult to switch off from it. I can sometimes be out collecting litter between 4 and 6 days a week. I find in summer the problem is particularly bad in my area as people are out more. It is a constant battle. Andrew found his way to the group after a bout of depression over 3 years ago and says it helped him move in a more positive direction. However, he maintains the issue of litter in the community is something that gets under his skin. He continued, "People of all ages are guilty of dropping rubbish and are ignorant in doing so. Animals and young children can be at risk from litter, and it also brings environmental hazards. The butts of cigarettes are a particular issue. It is annoying that some people do not seem to care. A particular frustration is when rubbish is dropped beside a bin, as it is total laziness. I do get riled up sometimes thinking about it. Volunteers can only do so much, and there needs to be a cultural shift across the UK in terms of people taking more pride in their communities." Jake Fulton has been a member of Team Up to Clean Up from its inception over 7 years ago. The 67-year-old, who lives in Crosslea, explained the rewarding nature of volunteering in the community. He said, "I got involved because I could see the potential in it and thought it was a great idea to have a group such as this across Renfrewshire. Litter would be an issue in our area if it was not addressed. When we first started, there was a real problem with rubbish on the ground due to the fact people tend to throw rubbish out of their car. People will always drop litter, and I tend to be of the opinion that as volunteers we can only do our best." Councillor Michelle Campbell, convener of Renfrewshire Council's Infrastructure, Land and Environmental Policy Board, said, "The Team Up to Clean Up initiative continues to be a great success, and it is a fantastic example of how the council can work together with the community. We share the same goals and ideals with our volunteers, as we all want to protect and improve our local environment now and for the future. We provide volunteers with equipment and support for their litter picks, as well as collecting the rubbish after, and our online community brings together like-minded people who want to make a difference to where they live." That article was an exclusive by Aidan MacDonald. This is from the Glasgow Times on Friday, 21st February 2025, from the news section. Glasgow Bowling Alley to host meetups for people living with cancer, by Sanjaya Suresh. People living with cancer are being invited to join support sessions at a Glasgow bowling alley. The Macmillan Cancer Community Meetups will take place at Hollywood Bowl, Glasgow Coatbridge, every other Tuesday from February 25th. The meetups will start at 11 a.m. and will include a complimentary game of bowling. They are designed to offer support to those living with cancer and allow them to make new friends. Attendees will be able to contribute in a way that suits them best, whether that be listening to others, sharing personal experiences, or discussing topics unrelated to cancer. They are also encouraged to bring a friend or family member to join them in enjoying a complimentary bowl. The meetups will run until April 1st, with more dates being announced in the future. The current dates are February 25th, March 4th, March 18th and April 1st. For more information on attending, go to the macmillan.org.uk website. David Williams, Operations Director at Hollywood Bowl, said, "We are dedicated to helping families create lasting memories and enjoy quality time with their loved ones. We are proud to join Macmillan in creating a cancer community where individuals living with cancer can connect and support each other. We hope that spending time at our centres provides a comforting and beneficial experience, as well as a space to make new friends and have some fun." An attendee of the meetup shared, "I enjoyed it and made new friends. I felt supported and encouraged and had fun." The team at Hollywood Bowl were amazing and so understanding of the group's needs. That article was by Sandhya Suresh. This is from the Glasgow Times on Friday, 21st February 2025, from the news section. Glasgow man changing the lives of construction apprentices. Exclusive by Morgan Carmichael. A Glasgow man is changing the lives of construction apprentices and breaking down barriers in the industry after winning a handful of awards and taking social media by storm. Chris Keel, 26, went from living in a council flat while doing his apprenticeship with Glasgow-based City Building to living the dream of owning his own business, Keel's Joinery and Construction. After winning Trade Apprentice of the Year at Screwfix's 2020 UK Awards, Chris began logging his day-to-day in construction on TikTok, and his business as well as his platform have grown intensely, and he's putting the fame to good use. Speaking to the Glasgow Times, the Knightswood man said, "When I started posting on TikTok, it was brand new, and my content just went crazy. It grew arms and legs. Social media took over and we started getting brand deals from the likes of Screwfix and Milwaukee Tools. By the time it came to 2021, I left City Building and made my own business, and now my dream is to use my platform to give opportunities to other apprentices." One way Chris is helping apprentices is by visiting city colleges to give away tools. Chris visited Glasgow Clyde College Cardonald campus on February 14th to host a number of competitive games, similar to those in Beast Games, a reality competition TV series created by Jimmy Donaldson, also known as YouTuber Mr. Beast, Tyler Conklin, Sean Clinzer and Mac Hopkins. Beast Games follows 1,000 contestants as they compete for the prize of $5 million, eventually bumped up to $10 million by competing in a series of challenges inspired by the viral Netflix show Squid Game and Donaldson's popular video, $456,000 Squid Game in real life. "I absolutely love Mr. Beast," Chris said. He continued, "He is so fun. I take inspiration from him." The winner of the games was a first-year apprentice at the college who won £1,000 worth of tools, donated by manufacturer Milwaukee Tools UK. Chris said, "It was such a buzz and a good day. Our plan is very much to keep going with these games. It helps people. When I won the awards and got my power tools, which are so expensive, it made such a difference to me and gave me confidence. I want to give that back to others." The games were recorded by Chris and his team and will be made into a YouTube video, which will be episode 0 of a series. The video will go live on YouTube on Sunday, February 23rd. You can watch it via Keel's Joinery and Construction's YouTube account. And Chris isn't limiting his free giveaways to just tools either. He explained, "We want to give people life-changing sums of money, and I want to keep making videos which generate money that we can give back to others." Often posting content of himself and his wife, who is an apprentice at Keels, Chris also hopes to put more women into construction apprenticeships. He said, "My wife works for me in the business. She is such an advocate for women in construction. We want to highlight that construction is a place for women and that though this industry is hard, it also has so many rewards and makes for a great career." To find out more about Keels Joinery, visit www.keelsjoinery.com. That article was an exclusive by Morgan Carmichael.
From Glasgow Times, Thursday the 20th of February 2025. From the lifestyle section, iconic North Lanarkshire pub announced its shock closure. This is an article by Ben Waddle. An iconic pub in North Lanarkshire has announced its shock closure, and punters have been left gutted. The Broch Bar in Kilsyth said it would be closing down on Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Revealing the news on Facebook, the boozer thanked all its customers from over the years who made it the iconic bar it is. The venue said, "It's with a heavy heart that we will be closing our doors next Thursday, February 27th. We really pushed to try and keep it open for the weekend for one last time, but it is out of our hands. We are so sorry. But we would like to say thank you to our loyal customers. Without you, it wouldn't be the iconic pub it is. Massive thank you to the staff who have worked here also. Without the workers, there wouldn't have been any pub to run. We are grateful to anyone who has come through our doors. We appreciate you all. Love, the Broch." Gutted punters of the watering hole flocked to the comments of the post to share their sadness about the news. One cried, "Oh, sorry to hear about this." Many good times shared in the Broch and also some sad times too. A second wrote, "So sad to hear this. Loads of good memories." A third added, "Sorry to hear this news. Many good nights in there back in the day." Meanwhile, another person said, "Sorry to hear this. End of an era." And that article was written by Ben Waddle. From Glasgow Times, Thursday the 20th of February 2025. From the opinions section, why SNP failures are pushing Scots towards private healthcare. This article was written by Paul Sweeney. Last month, the First Minister delivered a speech in Edinburgh outlining his latest plan to fix the NHS. John Swinney stood at the podium and reeled off pledges and promises to reverse the downward trajectory of the NHS performance, sidelining his embattled Health Secretary Neil Gray in the process. But these were just rehashed announcements that we have heard umpteen times over the last 2 decades. As ever, the SNP are rich in rhetoric, but poor in the delivery of any real improvements. Warm words are of little use to the medics who are on the front line. They have heard it all before, and face burnout as the situation in our hospitals worsens. The establishment of the NHS in July 1948 was Labour's most significant achievement, and it remains a cornerstone of our civilised society. Every one of us will need the NHS at various points in our lives. However, this Scottish Government has compromised the very founding principle of healthcare, free at the point of use. Excruciatingly long wait times for treatment are forcing more and more people to seek private healthcare for relief. From April to June last year, figures show that 12,660 people sought private healthcare for inpatient or day case procedures. This is an astonishing number, which represents a 7% increase on the same period in 2023. The new £6 million luxury private hospital that has just opened in the old Sauchiehall Centre is a striking symptom that more and more Scots are being forced to seek private treatment because of unbearable NHS waiting times. Inept SNP leadership is overseeing an inadvertent privatisation of healthcare in Scotland, where those who can afford to go private. Some remortgaging their homes or dipping into their pension savings to do so, while those unable to pay languish in pain on waiting lists. Nurses and doctors are working harder than ever, but they feel as though they are swimming against the tide. The SNP has driven our NHS to breaking point. This is felt starkly in A&E departments across the country. The number of people who waited more than 12 hours to be seen in A&E in 2011 was 784. Last year, the number had exploded to 76,346, equivalent to the population of Paisley, Scotland's largest town. A Scottish Labour government will bring a relentless focus to driving down waiting times so that people can once again get the treatment they need without being tormented into going private. We will implement a proper workforce plan and tackle delayed discharge in hospital wards by investing in community social care so that we can restore the flow of patients through A&E to wards, clearing this deadly and expensive logjam. But there are also short-term changes we can make to quickly bring down the time it takes to see a doctor. Labour will end the rush at 8 a.m. for GP appointments by launching an online system similar to those used to book a taxi or order a pizza. We will renegotiate GP contracts and ensure that patients can book advance appointments and be seen within 48 hours. Since the UK Labour government was elected in July, we have already shown that these aren't just warm words. Labour is delivering on its pledges. In England, an extra 2 million NHS appointments were created in Labour's first 5 months in office. That means more people being seen quickly and referred for treatment. The contrast in leadership couldn't be clearer. Tomorrow, Scottish Labour Conference begins in Glasgow, and we will set out our ambition to do the same for the NHS in Scotland if voters elect a Scottish Labour government at Holyrood next year. We will not rest until every Scot is confident that the NHS will be there for them in their hour of need, and they no longer have to worry about how to pay a private hospital to treat their illness. And that article was written by Paul Sweeney.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 22nd of February, from the news section, exclusive. Employee at Springfield Care Home in Lennoxtown charged by police. Article written by Amanda Keenan. A staff member has been arrested and another 4 workers suspended at a crisis-hit care facility. The Glasgow Times understands that the action comes as a result of 4 separate investigations into alleged abuse at Springfield Care Home in Lennoxtown. As a result of a probe at the centre's dementia unit, police have charged a 30-year-old employee in connection with the suspected ill treatment of residents, with the matter now in the hands of the Procurator Fiscal. Bosses at Springfield have also mounted their own internal investigations and confirmed today that several members of staff are currently suspended while this continues. A whistleblower at the home told the Glasgow Times the problems are primarily situated around the dementia unit. A spokesperson for the Care Inspectorate says that they are currently monitoring the situation at Springfield and added that management have been cooperating fully. They said, "We have been appropriately notified by the Service of Incidents and the action taken to address them. We continue to provide the service with support and remain in close contact with them and with the Health and Social Care Partnership to ensure the health, well-being and dignity of residents." A spokesperson for Springfield Care Home also said they are giving the matter their full attention. They told the Glasgow Times, "We take all allegations of this nature extremely seriously, and as soon as concerns were raised with us, we took immediate action to suspend the individuals and launch a full investigation alongside the relevant authorities. While investigations are underway, it would not be appropriate to comment further other than to say that there is nothing more important to us than the safety and well-being of the people in our care, and we will always take robust action to protect their best interests." A Police Scotland spokesperson confirmed the arrest of one employee in relation to the complaints. They said, "A 30-year-old woman was charged in connection with the ill treatment of residents at a care home in Lennoxtown, which was reported to police. A report has been submitted to the Procurator Fiscal." The allegations are not the first time the home has been in the spotlight over alleged issues within the facility. In July 2020, Police Scotland officers arrested 3 women following an investigation into the alleged mistreatment of a resident. It also hit the headlines following the death of 9 residents to coronavirus. And that article was written by Amanda Keenan. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday, February 22nd, 2025, from the news section. First Minister spotted taking subway in Glasgow. The First Minister has been spotted getting on the subway in Glasgow. John Swinney was pictured catching public transport on his way to give a speech in Glasgow Botanic Gardens about the importance of climate action. He was seen at the Buchanan Street stop on Thursday night before heading to the west end of the city. The SNP leader praised the upgraded carriages and the Alistair Gray net artwork, as he shared the experience on social media. He posted on Instagram, "It's always nice to hop on the Glasgow subway, especially with their new modern trains and those lovely Alistair Gray murals. I'm on my way to give a speech at Glasgow Botanics about the importance of climate action." Followers were quick to share their thoughts as they commented mixed opinions on the post. One said, "Scottish FM takes out our subway and not a fleet of cars. That is leadership." A second said, "It's nice to admire a political leader." A third said, "Looking nonchalant while travelling with a photographer. Hopefully, climate action will start on your walk from Hillhead subway to the Botanics, appraising the midden that is Byers Road, and you realising political leadership would be asking, directly, who's sorting this mess out and when?" And that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 22nd of February, from the news section. Jer's charity helps man break 40-year addiction. Report by Santaya Suresh. A man has celebrated being 3 years clean after a 40-year battle with addiction. Alex Scott has spoken out about his journey to recovery, which started when he was introduced to solvents at the age of 12. The Postle Park man said his addiction spiralled out of control when he was 16 and started using hard drugs. He said, "I was introduced to solvents at the age of 12 and through using those, I started feeling a bit more confident in myself and rebelling in class. I ended up leaving school at that time. My goals and aspirations were just to get by. When I wasn't involved in anything to keep me occupied, I started hanging around in streets and closes with the wrong crowds, and before I knew it, I had a needle in my arm at the age of 16. From that point on, my life revolved around using hard drugs." Alex said he tried to stop using drugs but could never stay completely clean. He said, "My life just became monotonous, and my mental health took a real dip. I thought I was in control of my using, but through working on myself and looking back, I can see that I clearly wasn't." Alex said his life changed when he was introduced to the Rangers Charity Foundation's recovery drop-in sessions, which are run every week in partnership with South Community Recovery Network, SCRN, at the Ibrox Community Complex and the Adelphi Centre. He said, "At my first meeting I didn't really have much to talk about, but the volunteers just gave me a wee bit of their time and shared their experiences, and that helped put me at ease. For me, the main thing coming here gave me was a chance to escape the isolation I was imposing on myself. Connecting with other people that were on their own recovery journey and getting a bite to eat and chat really put me in a better path. It also gave me some structure to my life and a purpose to get up and out of the door in the morning and try and break that cycle of monotony. I am proud to say that, as of a couple of weeks ago, I'm 3 years clean. It's amazing to think that for 40 years I couldn't go a day without using." And that article was written by Santaya Suresh. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 22nd of February, from the news section. Killer threatened to stab woman yards from her doorstep. This article is an exclusive by Connor Gordon. A killer threatened to stab a woman yards from her doorstep. Stephen Maguire, 21, made the remark towards Nicola Kimmett outside her flat in Glasgow's Maryhill on August the 13th, 2020. Maguire is currently serving an 8-year sentence for killing his friend Ryan Wheeler, 21, who was in the backseat passenger in his car. Maguire, who was under the influence of drink and drugs, was speeding behind the wheel of a stolen Skoda Superb. He smashed into another motor near the Rangers training ground in Mulgai, Eastern Bartonshire, on February the 23rd, 2023. A 17-year-old girl was freed from the wreckage but still continues to receive treatment at a brain injury clinic more than a year later. Despite initially going AWOL, Maguire pled guilty at the High Court in Glasgow to causing Mr. Wheeler's death by dangerous driving. He also admitted a separate charge of causing serious injury to the girl by dangerous driving. A judge told him it was one of the worst of these types of cases that he had heard. Maguire was found guilty today at Glasgow Sheriff Court to his latest charge of behaving in a threatening or abusive manner. The court heard that Maguire had a dispute with Miss Kimmett's partner, James Kimmett, on the day of the incident. Miss Kimmett was stated to have heard the commotion and got in between the both of them. Maguire said to her, "You are getting stabbed, you fat cow." Prosecutor Darren Harty asked Miss Maguire in his evidence, had he ever met Miss Kimmett before? He replied, "No, she's another person who my mum argues with." Maguire had earlier stated that Mr. Kimmett had also argued with his mum. Maguire also told jurors that he squared up to Mr. Kimmett. Allegations that he repeatedly attempted to strike Mr. Kimmett on the head with a knife were found not proven by a jury. Grazia Robertson, defending, told the court he is serving a substantial sentence for a non-analogous but serious matter. It was revealed that Maguire has spent 224 days in custody for this latest matter. Sheriff Barry Divers admonished Maguire, stating, "I have taken into account the lengthy time you have already spent in custody in respect of this matter." And that article was an exclusive by Connor Gordon. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 22nd of February, from the news section, "Repair plan triggers disruption." This article is unattributed. Plans for Glasgow sewer repairs have been changed, triggering a longer period of disruption. Scottish Water has brought forward works in the city centre, meaning they will be there for longer than originally planned. The servicing was due to take place later this year, as part of its current work to alleviate internal sewer flooding to a property. Now, Scottish Water has decided to tackle the sewer repairs while current traffic management is in place. It comes as the work has been taking place between West George Street and West Regent Street. As a result, Hope Street has been reduced to one lane since the beginning of January between West George Street and West Regent Street. Once these repairs are completed, the traffic management will be flipped, reducing Hope Street to one lane between Bath Street and West Regent Street. If there are no unforeseen circumstances, it is anticipated all works will be completed by the beginning of April. Businesses are open as usual, and road users are being advised to plan ahead and allow extra time for their journeys. Scottish Water has thanked all affected for their patience and understanding, and the author of that article is unattributed, and it was read by Ian. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 22nd of February, from the news section, "Woman dies after subway incident." This article is unattributed. A woman has died after an incident at a Glasgow subway station. Emergency crews, including police and paramedics, were called to a medical incident at Bridge Street subway station on Wednesday. The British Transport Police, BTP, revealed it was alerted to the medical matter at around 1:30 p.m. Meanwhile, the Scottish Ambulance Service said it sent 2 ambulances and a critical care paramedic to the travel hub. However, sadly, officers said a woman was pronounced dead at the scene. During the incident, SPT announced Bridge Street station was closed to the public. A British Transport Police spokesperson said, "Officers were called to a report of a medical incident at around 1:30 p.m. on February the 20th at Bridge Street subway station, Glasgow. Officers attended alongside paramedics. Unfortunately, a lady was pronounced deceased." A Scottish Ambulance Service spokesperson added, "We received a call at 12:39 p.m. to attend an incident at Bridge Street Station, Glasgow. We dispatched 2 ambulances and 1 critical care paramedic to the scene." And that article was unattributed, and it was read by Ian.
Glasgow Times News on Monday the 24th of February. Hundreds of Scottish water workers to strike, a union confirms. An article written by Ava White. Hundreds of Scottish water workers will strike in a row over pay, it has been confirmed. Unite, the union, stated that its Scottish Water membership of 500 workers is taking industrial action against the company next month. The trade union revealed that the opening phase of the action will see its members hold a standby ban and a ban on contractual overtime across 2 weekends. The bans are set to begin from 4 p.m. on March the 7th until 8 a.m. on March the 10th, and again between the same times on March the 14th to March the 17th. Unite claims that Scottish Water relies heavily on workers doing overtime, otherwise the utility firm would reportedly have to pay substantial payments to contractors to undertake outstanding remedial works. Strike action is expected to directly impact Scottish Water's response to water leakages, flooding, pollution and quality concerns over these weekends. Unite says that this is due to the key frontline roles undertaken by its membership in sewers, water treatment centres and on pipework. Members rejected an initial pay offer over 9 months totalling 3.4%, or no less than £1,200, depending on salary grade. The pay round would have run from July 2024 to April 2025. In contrast, Scottish Water's counterparts in Northern Ireland received a £1,500 consolidation payment and a 5% wage rise in December. Sharon Graham, Unite's General Secretary, said, "Unite's membership at Scottish Water is determined to hold those in charge of the public body to account. It's simply unacceptable that the hard work and dedication of our members is not being rewarded, while Scottish Water executive pay hits eye-watering levels. Unite will fully support our members in their fight for better jobs, pay and conditions at Scottish Water." The trade union also stated that it wants to highlight the eye-watering executive pay levels at the utility firm. During 2023 to 2024, Unite claims that Scottish Water's executive team were awarded £329,000 in bonuses and benefits. It went on to claim that the 3 key executives of Scottish Water, Alex Plant, Peter Farrer and Alan Scott, took home £842,000 in remuneration packages, while outgoing Chief Executive Douglas Milliken is said to have received £55,000 before leaving in May 2023. Alex Plant, the current Chief Executive, is reported to have received a remuneration package totalling £483,000, on top of his reported salary of £246,000. Unite says that the executive and non-executive members, including the chair of the public body, reportedly benefited from remuneration packages worth a combined £1.15 million, up from £854,000 in 2023. Sam Ritchie, Unite's industrial officer, said, "Unite's members are outraged by the culture of arrogance gripping Scottish Water's management. Let's remember that the exorbitant executive pay levels are being funded by the Scottish public. Industrial action will significantly impair the ability of Scottish Water to provide a service over 2 consecutive weekends. Alex Plant and his executive team, who are dining out on the public purse, must significantly improve the pay offer or industrial action is inevitable." It comes as water bills in Scotland are set to rise by 9.9% from the 1st of April. This is said to add an average of £3.68 per month, or £44 per year, to household bills for water and wastewater services. Scottish Water has been contacted for comment. An article written by Ava White. Glasgow Times Politics on Monday the 24th of February. Keir Starmer makes a speech on Ukraine in Glasgow at the Labour conference. An article written by Stuart Patterson. The Prime Minister said that the UK must stand by Ukraine for the Ukrainian people and for the UK's national interest. Speaking at the Scottish Labour Party conference at the SEC in Glasgow, Sir Keir Starmer said that the UK would not be cowed by threats or tyranny. His remarks were made ahead of a meeting between the Prime Minister and Donald Trump next week, and concerns in some quarters that the US President has had conversations about ending the war with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, but not with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Mr. Starmer said, "After everything that they have suffered, after everything that they have fought for, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine." He said, "On the eve of the 3rd year of Russian aggression in Ukraine, I know this conference, and indeed the Scottish people, stand with the people of Ukraine, because peace only comes from strength. Nobody wants the bloodshed to continue, nobody, least of all the Ukrainians. But after everything that they have suffered, after everything that they have fought for, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine. In the main speech on the final day of the 3-day conference, Mr. Starmer said that he was in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, a few weeks ago and witnessed the devastation that Putin has caused. He said, "I met soldiers in the burns unit of the hospital who fought on the front line of freedom. I spoke to children who are growing up under constant bombardment. Some of them at primary school age had lost their parents to the conflict." He said that he was in Bucha, a town where Russian soldiers handcuffed civilians and shot them in the head in cold blood. The Prime Minister said he had conversations you don't forget with people who had to gather up the bodies of their friends, their family, their brothers and sisters and wheel them into a mass grave using shopping trolleys. He said, "Mark my words, what I have seen only makes me more determined to stand up for Ukraine." He added, "And I'm proud that we have shown, once again, that we are a nation that will not be cowed by threats or by tyranny. But as we enter a new phase in this conflict, we must now deepen our solidarity even further. And it's not just moral urgency that demands this, it's also in our national interest." The Prime Minister also told the conference that the UK government was investing hundreds of millions of pounds to get new industries in Grangemouth, as owners Ineos plan to close the oil refinery with hundreds of jobs lost. He said, "We will grasp the opportunities at Grangemouth, work alongside partners to develop viable proposals, team up with business to get new industries off the ground, and to attract private investors into the partnership we need. We will allocate £200 million from the National Wealth Fund for investment in Grangemouth." He said that oil and gas will be part of the future in Scotland for decades to come, but also that the existing workforce must be protected. He said, "Every worker made redundant, every worker will get 18 months full pay. There will also be a skills and training offer backed up with up to £10 million from the UK government, and any business within the Grangemouth Freeport area that takes on these workers will get national insurance relief." An article written by Stuart Patterson. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 24th of February. Health Secretary to attend crisis hit health centre after GPs are forced to work from home. An exclusive article written by Amanda Keenan. Scotland's Health Minister is set to visit a crisis-hit health centre after problems there saw GPs forced to work from home. Medical staff at Drumchapel Health Centre say that they're struggling to serve a rapidly growing patient population due to completely unacceptable working conditions. The centre, located on Kinfauns Drive, houses 5 GP practices, and staff say that they have reached breaking point, with only half of the clinical rooms needed for medics fit for purpose in each surgery. After initially declining an invitation to discuss the issues with medics, Mr Gray, the Cabinet Secretary for Health and Social Care, agreed to meet with frustrated doctors after the Glasgow Times stepped in to push for the summit to go ahead. One medic said, "As it stands, there's just not enough space for doctors, nurses, pharmacists, link workers, citizens advice staff, family support workers, GP trainees and medical students to work all at once within the centre. Not having enough room for each of these results in fewer appointments, longer waiting lists, and it's also meant in some practices a loss of staff, as we simply can't work without designated space. The situation is now so bad that GPs are having to work from home rather than being able to see patients face to face, which is totally unacceptable and not something that they feel comfortable having to do. The doctor says the chance to lay the problems before the Minister is the first step in finding a resolution. They added, "We welcome the opportunity to outline the challenges we're facing with Mr Gray. We want him to help have this primary care building prioritised and brought up to standard to allow us to do our jobs." We previously told how the need to find a solution to the healthcare crisis in Drumchapel is backed by the stark statistics that show the challenges that those in the area are facing. These show that 27% of the Drumchapel population has a long-term health condition or disability, which limits day-to-day activity in their households, much higher than the city average of 20%. Other data reveals that around 9.6% of locals have a physical disability, compared to 7.8% Glasgow-wide, while mental health issues are also high, with 9% of those who live there impacted. Male life expectancy is just 68, compared to the Scottish average of 77, while women are expected to live to 73, compared with 81 elsewhere in the country. Local councillor Paul Carey also penned a letter expressing his concerns to Dr Leslie Thompson, the chair of Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board, after a proposal to extend the centre into the nearby council-owned Children and Family Centre was rebuffed. Dr Sandesh Gulhani, regional MSP for Glasgow, also told MSPs in Holyrood how the medical centre had reached breaking point and said the people of Drumchapel were being let down. Dr Gulhani, who extended the invite for Mr Gray to meet with staff at the complex, said, "The centre is not fit for purpose, which results in longer waits and widening inequalities. The staff I met are desperate for help, and the centre has been consistently overlooked for an upgrade." A spokesperson for NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde says that they will look at all options to meet patients' needs. They added, NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde has a rolling programme of maintenance and replacement for all buildings in its estate. While we continue to provide regular repair and maintenance at our sites, including at Drumchapel Health Centre, the financial challenges that are facing all health boards in Scotland have had an effect on the timing and extent of our capital programmes. We continue to work with local authorities and health and social care partnerships to do all that we can to provide healthcare facilities that are suitable for the changing needs of communities. As part of that process, it's routine to consider available premises as is deemed necessary by our services. A Scottish Government spokesperson added, "The Health Secretary is attending Drumchapel Health Centre next week." An exclusive article written by Amanda Keenan. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 24th of February. Scotland's first free public transport trial to begin in Glasgow. An article written by Sarah Hilly. The first free public transport trial of its kind in Scotland has been approved. People in Glasgow are to be offered free public transport after councillors signed off £225,000 on Thursday to offer the concessionary travel to 1,000 residents as part of its budget for the upcoming year. A study looking at the possibility last year found that a smart card ticket for the bus, train and subway would be a feasible way of rolling it out, and the pilot could run for 9 weeks. The study recommended that people aged between 22 and 59 years should be included, but exact details on how it would work and when it will happen are yet to be released by the council. The study also suggested that providing everyone in Glasgow between the ages of 22 and 59 with free public transport for just 9 weeks would cost approximately £95.7 million, excluding back office and admin costs. The budget paper at a council meeting said that the test run would be Scotland's first universal free public transport pilot. It added 1,000 adults will be able to access transport free at the point of use to test the social, environmental and economic benefits of this. The firm Stantec Limited carried out the free public transport pilot study for the council last year. The study said the intention of the pilot is to provide a mechanism through which benefits and costs of free public transport can be captured and assessed, to inform future decision-making and policy setting for potential wider rollout of the scheme across the city on a more permanent basis. The council has a target to see a 30% reduction in vehicle kilometres by 2030 and to reach net zero by then. More people using public transport or cycling and walking in the city would help achieve that goal, according to the council. An article written by Sarah Hilly. Glasgow Times News on Monday the 24th of February. Slap fight event cancelled after concerns over brain injuries. An article written by Alistair Ferguson. Scotland's first ever slap fighting competition has been cancelled following concerns over brain injuries. Brit Slap and Slap Fight UK was due to hold the controversial event at Glasgow University Union as part of a wider weightlifting meet. However, a spokesperson for the student union said that the event had been cancelled due to a discussion with organisers. Dr. Willie Stewart, a leading researcher at Glasgow University's School of Neuroscience, urged competitors not to risk their brain health in the name of sport. Slap fighting is largely considered as an underground sport and has accumulated millions of viewers online. Competitors are separated by a podium at waist height as they stand across from each other and take turns to deliver open-handed blows across their opponent's face. Flinching, dodging or deflecting strikes is not allowed during the contest, with the aim for competitors to knock their opponent out or to win by points. Dr. Stewart told the BBC that it was inconceivable that the union would host such an event, which has now been reportedly axed. He said there's no question that the University of Glasgow's research has provided the clearest evidence that brain injuries should never be considered trivial or encouraged as sport. In this context, it seems inconceivable, if not ill-considered, that a students' union of this university would be hosting such an event. I'd suggest that rather than encouraging people to risk their brain health in the name of sport, the event organisers spend a few hours in my laboratory and educate themselves on the consequences of brain injuries. Glasgow University Union reportedly previously said it was satisfied with the safety measures which were in place. A statement released on Friday said, "In discussion with the event organisers, the slap fighting element of this weekend's weightlifting competition is no longer going ahead." A spokesperson for the University of Glasgow said that it did not endorse or sanction the event. They told the BBC, "Given the strength of the evidence outlined by our own academic colleagues and echoed by published peer-reviewed research, we regard this as a dangerous sport and do not believe that the Glasgow University Union or the university should be associated with it." An article written by Alistair Ferguson. Glasgow Times, The Future of Glasgow, on Monday the 24th of February. Why the Herald and the Glasgow Times are investigating the future of this city. An article written by Catherine Salmond, the editor of the Herald, and Stacey Mullen, the editor of the Glasgow Times. It goes without saying how much Glasgow means to both our newspapers. The Herald, the world's longest-running national, was founded here 242 years ago. It has always had an office in the city centre and honours its Glasgow roots with a pride and a passion. The clue is in the title for the Glasgow Times, which has dedicated itself to serving the people of this great city since its first copy hit the newsstands in 1876. Glasgow runs through the blood of both our titles, past and present, and our teams are as passionate about the city, its past, present and future, as our predecessors, from whom we've proudly become custodians of these long-running and trusted brands. But we've never joined forces to publicly discuss Glasgow. Until now. In Glasgow's 850th year, the Herald and the Glasgow Times are uniting for a week-long series, The Future of Glasgow, to take a deep look at what is going on with a city so close to our hearts. Is it where it should be, or should Glasgow be aspiring for more? We're excited about what our teams has produced in what is a passionate but critical look at Glasgow, with many questions being asked of those who have the power to steer change. This is a year of celebration for the city, so what is there to be satisfied about? Where are improvements needed? What can bring them about? How urgent is some of the change? This is a series that has heard firsthand from the people who live in and love this city. We tell their stories, share their dreams and put their aspirations for Glasgow to those who have the power to bring them alive. And we've asked and listened to those with influence and experience, with the faith that we can lead the collaborative discussions that need to be had about our beautiful city. Join us and give us your thoughts as we devote this week to Glasgow, its people and their futures. An article in The Future of Glasgow series, written by Catherine Salmond and Stacey Mullen.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025, from the news section. 77-year-old man in serious condition after being hit by a car. And this article was written by Amy Miles. A 77-year-old man is in a serious condition after being hit by a car. The man was hit by a white Mini Cooper Clubman on Eglinton Street, Irvine, at around 3:10 p.m. on Monday, February the 24th. Emergency services attended and the pedestrian was taken to Crosshouse University Hospital, where his condition is described as serious. The driver of the car was uninjured. The road was closed for crash investigation work and reopened around 7:15 p.m. Sergeant Gordon Stewart from the Ayrshire Road Policing Unit said, "Our inquiries are continuing to establish the full circumstances and we are keen to speak to anyone who saw what happened. We are also asking anyone driving in the area at the time to check their dash cam to see if it has captured anything that could assist with our investigation." And that article was by Amy Miles, read by me, Caroline. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 25th of February 2025, from the news section. Household energy bills to rise as Ofgem hikes price cap. And this article was written by Rosie Lewis. The energy bills of millions of households are to rise by 6.4% from April the 1st, when Ofgem increases its price cap for a third consecutive quarter. The regulator said the increase, which will raise the average bill for households in England, Scotland and Wales on a standard variable tariff from the current £1,738 a year to £1,849, following a recent spike in wholesale prices. The rise will equate to £111 for an average household per year, or around £9.25 a month over the 3-month period of the price cap. This is a 9.4% or £159 higher than this time last year, but £531 or 22% lower than at the height of the energy crisis at the start of 2023. Ofgem Chief Executive Jonathan Brearley said, "We know that no price rise is ever welcome and that the cost of energy remains a huge challenge for many households. But our reliance on international gas markets leads to volatile wholesale prices and continues to drive up bills, which is why it's more important than ever that we are driving forward investment in a cleaner, homegrown system. Energy debts that began during the energy crisis have reached record levels and without intervention will continue to grow. This puts families under huge stress and increases costs for all customers. We are developing plans that could give households with unmanageable debt the clean slate they need to move forward." Ofgem said 4 million customers have moved to a fixed tariff since its last price cap announcement in November, taking the total to 11 million, meaning they will not be affected by the increase. This was the largest movement of customers coming off the price cap and onto a fixed deal since the energy crisis, the regulator said. However, Citizens Advice Chief Executive Dame Claire Moriarty said the service was helping people every day who simply can't afford this latest price hike, as its latest research showed the number of people living in debt to their energy supplier had reached a new high of nearly 7 million. Dame Claire said, "We are particularly concerned about households with children where over 1 in 3 struggle to afford bills, rising to more than half of those on low incomes."
The government can't let another winter go by without targeted support for those most in need, and there is a way of paying for this. A recent analysis found energy network companies made billions in excess profits while households have faced soaring bills, and it's only right this money be used to help fund better targeted bill support and much needed debt relief. The price cap increase follows a warning to households of at least months of pain after the Bank of England forecast higher than expected inflation this summer due to rising bills. The bank's warning that inflation will hit a peak of 3.7% later in the summer follows a multitude of predicted hikes to household expenses, including food, energy, water, council tax and bus fares. And that article was by Rosie Lewis. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 25th of February 2025. From the news section. Suspect accused of murdering man at home in Clydebank. And this article was written by Grant McCabe. A suspect is accused of murdering a man who died 7 months after he was attacked. John McNamara, 52, is said to have assaulted James Donaldson at a property in Paleview, Clydebank, on October the 12th, 2019. Prosecutors claim then the 48-year-old was repeatedly stamped and jumped upon, causing him to become unconscious. The murder charge states this was to the man's severe injury as well as to his permanent disfigurement and impairment. It is stated, as a result, he passed away on May the 29th, 2020 at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow. The case called for a hearing at the High Court in Glasgow. McNamara's legal team pleaded not guilty on his behalf. Lord Colbeck set a trial scheduled to start in December 2025. And that article was by Grant McCabe.
From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 26th of February 2025, from the lifestyle section. Lack of engineering expertise led to Waverley crash at Brodick Pier. Report by Jodie Harrison. A lack of engineering expertise and a failure to pass down knowledge contributed to an accident which saw Waverley crash into Brodick Pier in Arran. More than 20 passengers and 3 crew members were injured when the world-famous ship collided with the pier while attempting to dock on the 3rd of September 2020. A Marine Accident Investigation Branch, MAIB, investigation has found that a complicated engine failure known as a dead centre event, where a stuck piston prevented the ship from going into reverse, caused the crash. However, a failure to recognise the danger of such an event occurring and the knowledge to cope with it contributed to the crash. The MAIB report found the paddle steamer had re-entered service with inexperienced crew and worn machinery. The Waverley was trying to berth at the pier after a 2-hour trip along the island's coast when the crash happened at 4:46 p.m. The report said 21 of the 196 passengers on board and 3 of the 27 crew were injured. Investigators said many passengers were standing at the time of the crash and either fell through the deck or hit fixtures on the boat as they were thrown forward. 3 passengers sustained serious back and pelvis injuries, and 2 of them were evacuated by helicopter to a mainland hospital. The other passengers sustained cuts and bruises and 4 were taken to a mainland hospital, with 9 treated at the local hospital in Arran. The report states, no impact warning or instruction to brace was broadcast and 24 of the passengers and crew were injured. This number might have been smaller had sufficient warning been given. The Waverley's bow was buckled inwards by the impact, resulting in 3 holes in the bow plating above the waterline. The report found the engine failed when trying to slow the ship on approach to the pier and could only be restarted when it was too late to avoid a collision. The Waverley hit the concrete wall at the end of the pier at approximately 2.8 knots. Investigators said the engine failure was caused by a dead centre event, where the high-pressure steam piston came to rest at the top of its travel when the engine was stopped, known as the dead centre position, preventing the engine from running. It was slow to restart due to an incorrectly secured piston valve. Dead centre events were a known phenomenon, but they had only occurred infrequently. The chief engineer was unfamiliar with the system indicators that warned of a dead centre event or how to anticipate and prevent its occurrence, the report states. The absence of an effective safety management system and reliance on historic maintenance documentation resulted in the failure to capture maintenance issues accurately. The report found the risk of such an event occurring and the associated understanding of what to do had neither been assessed nor effectively mitigated. The MEIB said since the crash, the ship's operator, Waverley Excursions, has carried out an internal safety review of its management system. This led to the creation of an electronic planned maintenance system, a requirement for all berthing activities to be fully risk assessed, and a competency-based training and development programme for engine and deck crew. It has also added awareness of sudden movements while berthing to the passenger safety briefings. The MEIB has made no recommendations to the company in light of the actions taken at the time elapsed since the incident. Paul Semple, Waverley Excursions General Manager, said, "I welcome the publication of the MEIB report and support its findings and conclusions. The report recognises the extensive work undertaken by Waverley Excursions since the incident back in 2020, including a full review of the safety management system. I am pleased to note that given the actions taken by the company and outlined in the report, there are no recommendations made by the MEIB." He said this year passenger service is due to start in May, and this season marks the 50th anniversary since the Waverley's first sailing and preservation. An article was written by Jodie Harrison and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 26th of February 2025, from the Lifestyle section. International Women's Day March to take place next month, by Emily Moore. An International Women's Day March will take place next month. Members of the community and various charities will join together on Friday, March the 7th, to march a mile-long route through Drumchapel. Residents will meet at Drumchapel St Andrews Car Park on the Garscadden Road around 9:30am, before they proceed to Drumchapel Community Centre via Kinfawns Drive. The free event, run by G13 Thriving Places, will include a number of stalls including food, nails, henna, therapies and a free prize draw community centre until 2:30pm. Every March, events take place across the world to highlight the achievements of women, whether they be social, economic, cultural or political, and to mark the advances of women in progressing equity and equality. All members of the public are invited to the event. That article was written by Emily Moore and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 26th of February, from the Lifestyle section. 2 UK comedy legends set to perform in Glasgow's Pavilion, by Amy Miles. 2 of the UK's top improv comedians are set to come to Glasgow with their highly anticipated new show. Paul Merton and Suki Webster, renowned for their improvisational comedy, have announced a Glasgow show in the UK tour of their latest production. They will be performing in the iconic Pavilion Theatre on March the 12th. Tickets for the show are available from the Pavilion Theatre box office and online. The pair will be joined by their long-time friend Mike McShane and a host of special guests. The show promises a night of unscripted comedy filled with fast-paced, funny games, scenes and stories. The production has already received rave reviews, with one 4 review describing it as class, nonsense, inventiveness, and a whole barrel load of laughs. The British Theatre Guide also lauded the performers as some of the most experienced improvisers around and always impressive. Paul Merton is a familiar face on British television, known for his appearances on popular shows such as BBC Radio 4's Just a Minute, And have I got news for you? Suki Webster, a founding member of Paul Merton's Improv Chums, has toured with the group globally with the group and appeared in a West End run of one-word improv with Eddie, Susie, Izzard. The show has been described as hilariously absurd by Broadway Baby and improv comedy at its strongest by the Scots Reviewer. Article written by Amy Miles. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 26th of February, from the opinion section, the future of Glasgow. I grew up in Hungary and I know why I stayed in Glasgow. By Esther Tarnay, Community and Court Reporter. So, what brought you to Glasgow? This is a question I hear a lot. It's difficult for me to answer, but I know why I stayed. Growing up in Hungary, I heard that Scots are drunk and frugal. They all have ginger hair and wear kilts in the constant rain. I wasn't sure if I would like them. But I had also seen pictures of beautiful houses with stonework, surrounded by spacious gardens filled with flowers. On postcards, the city seemed rustic and exciting, filled with statues and intricate old buildings. To my surprise, when I arrived, I had entirely different first impressions. I recall these as part of our joint series with the Herald, The Future of Glasgow. The people were welcoming and had a great sense of humour. The accents were difficult to understand, but I loved how they sounded. Glasgow, however, was grey, busy, dirty and wet. A lot less glamorous than I expected. After going to university in Ayr, I moved to the city full-time to pursue a career in journalism. I figured since most of the country's media is based here, it would be full of opportunity, and, soon enough, I got a job as a reporter. When I started at the Glasgow Times in October 2022, I was given North Glasgow as my patch, which I've been covering since. I quickly realised that due to the nature of my job, I often have to deal with the worst parts of the city. Deprivation, fly tipping, crime, homelessness. It was disappointing and I quickly dismissed Glasgow as a long-term home for myself. But as I immersed myself more and more into the community, I felt my perspective shift. I attended community council meetings, spoke with charities and visited protests, and I realised that everyone wanted to improve Glasgow. Yes, there are issues, but there is also always discussion, construction, campaigning and planning. Recently, I visited the cells of Barlinnie and discussed the overcrowding with officials, but I covered the plan for HMP Glasgow, promising a new, more humane space for rehabilitation. For years, I listened to complaints about the lack of quality housing in North Glasgow, then watched Sightill's transformation into a modern estate. The introduction of LAZ, the Avenues project, the new bridges, Stockingfield, Partick-Govan and Sighthill, are all examples of innovation. Of course, there are still ongoing debates around the demolition of the O2 ABC, the Windford Towers, the plan for more cycling lanes and many more, and I don't have all the answers. Sometimes decision makers don't get it right, but as long as there is a conversation, I am optimistic. It's great to see that Glasgow is always changing and improving and everyone has a suggestion on what would make it better. People complain about too much construction, but I find it inspiring, even with some margin for error. For its 850th birthday, I wish for Glasgow that the residents never stop caring about its future. And that was a comment piece by Esther Tarnay, read by Ian McKenna.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.